There are days when I feel like a matchstick that's been lit too many times, burned at both ends, hollow in the middle, still trying to produce light. Burnout isn't just exhaustion, it's a spiritual signal. The body says, no more. The soul whispers, where did you go? I'm not in the middle of burnout now, not the way I once was, but I've spent the last few years slowly crawling out of it, peeling off the layers of overgiving, overworking, overperforming. What I've been learning is this: burnout is not a personal failure. It's a symptom of being too far from your truth for too long. And so, this soliloquy is a slow, gentle walk through the ash, not to rehash the fire, but to understand what it burned away and what still remains glowing. Through the stories of Riley, Katniss, Wanda, and Rue, we'll explore the different ways burnout shows up and what it takes to come home to yourself again. Let's begin with where it often starts, with disconnection. In Inside Out, Riley doesn't burn out from overwork. She burns out from emotional exile. When joy pushes sadness away, Riley starts to shut down, not because she's weak, but because something essential has gone missing. She's expected to smile her way through a storm, and so she detaches. The spark that once gave her color goes dim. And isn't that how it happens for many of us? Burnout doesn't always scream. It seeps. When we suppress sadness for too long, when we exile our grief to stay functional, we begin to split from our own humanity. Buddhism teaches that all emotions are impermanent and sacred, even the ones we've been taught to hide. Denying one part of ourselves creates friction with the whole. So I ask you now, when did you last let yourself feel what you're really feeling? What part of you has been asked to stay quiet just to keep things going? What emotions have you labeled as wrong, dangerous, or inconvenient? Who gave you the idea that being okay meant being happy all the time? And what would it look like to welcome even your sadness as part of the healing? Because sometimes burnout isn't about what we're doing, it's about what we're not allowing ourselves to feel. Now we turn to Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Her story isn't about emotional suppression, it's about survival. She never got the chance to stop and process. From the second her sister's name was called, Katniss entered a world that demanded she be useful, strategic, sacrificial. By the time it all ends, she's hollowed out. Not dead, but emptied. That's what long-term survival mode does. It keeps you alive, but it costs you your aliveness. I see this version of burnout in those of us who had to grow up too fast, who learned to be strong instead of safe, who became hyper-responsible and self-sufficient, but now feel resentful and brittle. Stoic philosophy teaches us that courage isn't the absence of vulnerability. It's the willingness to stand in truth without flinching. But even courage needs a place to rest. So I invite you to reflect. Where in your life have you been functioning instead of living? What armor are you wearing that you no longer need? When did you last feel truly safe, without expectation or hypervigilance? What would happen if you stopped performing strength and started exploring softness? And who are you underneath the survival story? There is no shame in needing rest. There is no weakness in being tired. What we call burnout is often a longing of being held, not just useful. Then there's Wanda Maximoff, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and most notably here from WandaVision. Her story is not just about loss, it's about illusion. After losing everything she loves, she creates Westview, a false reality stitched together by grief. She rewrites the world to avoid what she cannot bear to feel. But the more she holds on to control, the more fractured she becomes. Many of us know this kind of burnout, the burnout of holding it all together. The burnout of trying to maintain an image, to keep others comfortable, to prevent collapse by micromanaging every outcome. In the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred Hindu text, Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have the right to your actions, but not to the fruits of your actions." In other words, control is not peace. Letting go is. So ask yourself, where in your life are you trying to manage rather than mourn? What would happen if you told the truth about your grief? What illusions have you created to feel safe? And are they still serving you? Who are you when you're not fixing or curating or controlling? And what would it feel like to simply let go, even for a moment? Wanda's journey reminds us that real healing begins not with reinvention, but with surrender, with letting the grief move through instead of pretending it's not there. Finally, we arrive at Rue Bennett from Euphoria, and her burnout is perhaps the most devastating because it's rooted in shame. Rue's not just exhausted, she's numb. She's turned to substances, not for escape, but for survival. And underneath it all, she believes she's too far gone to be saved. That's what shame does. It tells us that our burnout is our fault, that asking for help is weakness, that if we were just better, we wouldn't feel like this. Taoist philosophy gently challenges that idea. It teaches that when we let go of who we think we should be, we make room for who we truly are. In burnout recovery, self-compassion isn't optional. It's medicine. So I ask tenderly, what pain have you been avoiding out of fear it will swallow you whole? Where has shame silenced your need for care? What would it look like to offer yourself softness without condition? Who might witness you if only you dared to speak your truth aloud? And what is the smallest, most honest step toward healing you can take today? Rue's journey isn't just about addiction. It's about returning to worth. Not because she's proven herself, but because she's still here. And maybe that's what burnout is trying to show us. That we don't need to become someone else to be okay. We just need to come back. Burnout, in all its forms, isn't just the end of energy. It's the end of pretending. And in that pause, in that ash, something ancient stirs. The mythology of the phoenix tells us that the fire isn't the end. It's the beginning of becoming. The old self cannot survive the flames, but the truth underneath it can. I think of that often now, in this quieter phase of my recovery. I'm not trying to blaze forward anymore. I'm tending to the hearth. I'm learning how to let things take time. I'm asking better questions, and I'm living slower but deeper. Maybe you are too. So before we close, I'd like to offer a few words for your inner ember, for those parts of you still glowing under the weight of it all. Repeat them softly, or just let them land wherever they need to. I am not broken. I am becoming. My worth is not tied to my productivity. Rest is not retreat. It is a remembering. I can begin again, even if all I do is breathe. The fire did not destroy me. It revealed the gold underneath. So if you felt frayed, empty, or like you've been running on fumes for far too long, this is your invitation to stop, to listen, to tend to the small, sacred flame within you. You are not the burnout. You are what's still alive beyond it. Until next time, Seeker, keep the fire close, but this time let it warm you, not consume you.